All right, everyone. I guess that's a picture of me. So let's go ahead and start. I want to begin by thanking you all for coming. You're all eager to hear information, eager to understand what's happening and to share it with others. And for that, I'm very appreciative. I want to thank in particular all of the staff members here and others who have been hard at work to prepare the campus for this partial return, this transition that we're going to begin on Monday. Alan's going to go through some detailed thanks, but for the minute, I want to extend particular thank you to these folks for your extraordinary efforts over time, both in terms of hours and in terms of emotional and psychic investment in preparing the campus for a safe return. I don't know about you, but I am excited about the beginning of this partial return and this transition that is coming. I miss seeing you all in person. I miss live interaction with real people. And Zoom, as you all know, is no substitute for human engagement that is face-to-face. It will be joyful to have the opportunity to try to begin to develop the campus culture again in person. But I also want to acknowledge a range of feelings we all have for all of us, not just on the good side, but also on the anxiety side that I think many of us share about returning to the campus. Concerns about safety. I hope we can answer some of those concerns today and continue the line of communication between us all as we move forward. I also want to acknowledge the real fluidity of the situation. You know, Alan and I and the whole team have been watching as information and guidance changes on an almost daily basis from the feds, from the state, from the city, from CUNY, all of which this guidance and standards we have met or exceeded, but that continues to evolve. And I expect that some of it will change between right now and Monday. And we will keep you posted about those changes. We also wanted to hold this open forum as close to the moment when we began our return as we could, so that we were at least giving you the most up-to-date information we could about what we know and how this process is going to unfold. I want to address one critical concern, which is about masking. Now, Carrie's going to talk about the masking policy in detail in her presentation, but I want to address one specific part of it. Look, if it were up to me, this would be a mandatory campus. We would have mandatory masks across the campus for every interior space on campus. But we're currently prohibited from mandating that. And so we'll talk about the details of that when we turn to Carrie. That, of course, may change over the next day or few weeks. But while we're in this interim period, I want to let you know that I've made the decision to allow any individual office to declare, to self-designate its office as a mask required area for safety reasons. And again, the university policy may change over time, but I wanted to try to share with you that we are trying to be flexible and reasonable across the board and in response to really changing circumstance. We want to hear from you. We're glad to have this opportunity to hear from you today, and we ask for your patience and goodwill as we go through the information that we want to share with you and as we try to respond to as many questions as we can and as we together as a community work this all out. Thank you all for coming. I'll turn it back to Marcus or Alan. I'm not sure who's taking it.
Okay, I guess I will take it from here. Welcome, everybody. Well, I like the picture. It's a little more hair then and maybe a little less weight. So when I see people in person, it'll be a little different. But still looking forward to it. Again, thank you all for attending. We have a tremendous turnout. I'm expecting more to come in. I'm going to focus on briefly. I sent out something yesterday which covered a lot, but I just want to add to that. So our theme for this has been returning safely to campus, and we work closely with the communications team. Shout out to Mara, Lisa, Paul and the rest of their team, Audrey for all the work that they've done on that, the great partnership. And to me, I want to focus on each of the three words: returning safely together. Returning, as the president just said, I know many of you have mixed feelings. Yeah, I came back to campus in person recently, a lot of mixed feelings, but when you go there and you see our amazingly beautiful grounds, and they're amazingly beautiful. We don't have flowers because people couldn't appreciate it, but it's still beautiful. You see and look at our refurbished, magnificent bell tower. Before I walked in the office, I went in and looked at it for 5 minutes and teared up. You then go to our town center, and we have a new perennial garden designed by our own Steve Aliano, which is spectacular. And equally important, as the president said, you're going to see people you haven't seen. They'll be wearing masks. At least the ones I saw wore masks. I wear masks everywhere. And somehow you feel closer, even though you don't see their face. And I keep distance all the time. You feel closer. And when you see that, we're going to come back slowly and carefully, but it's going to be a start. But please enjoy the moment of the place and people that in many cases are our second family and second home. So, I wanted to share that. Safely is at the center of our theme from February 2020 until now, 18 long months, and probably continuing for a while. Safety was the foundation of everything we've done. Even at times when many of you said we're being too cautious and we want to come back to campus, we said no, sorry, through our reentry review board. And we will continue to do this safely. We have to, we must. This virus is not over yet. We must do everything we can to be safe, and things may change, or things will change one way or the other. We've always said that. We will respond appropriately to ensure the safety of our entire campus community. And then last word is together, and two parts of together. We need your help when we return to campus because we can't be everywhere. We will talk shortly about how we want people to report information to us, because we need to know what you're thinking, what you see, what you need help with and guidance with. And, that will help make life easier and move forward for all of us. But equally important together, we could either bring each other all up or we could bring each other all down. I can't tell you how much things. I'm getting a little emotional here. Sorry. I want to thank my team who amaze and inspire me every day. A journey none of us wanted to go through. We did it together, and I'm so blessed. But I also want to thank all of you, or many of you, because you have no idea how many days I wanted to give up. That I wanted to call the president and say, Michelle, I'm sorry, I'm done. I can't do this. It's too much. And then I would always get an email or a call or someone saying thank you, whether it's my team or someone else. And I'm like, I could do this. We all could do this together. And many of you have no idea what your simple words meant to me. And I'm just asking, let's continue that for all of us. This is so hard emotionally and mentally. I think it's post-traumatic stress syndrome for many of us. And I never want to do anything as hard and work in a life ever again. But I know together we're going to get through this. So I'm thanking you all in advance for making sure that we're working together. With that, I'm going to turn over to the content, which is the most important part of why we're here, and turn it over to Larry Bosket. Larry is a member of our college reentry review board and is always been a key person that we work with and turn to during many times. He's the assistant director of admissions. And Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you for agreeing to moderate.
Thank you, Alan, Michelle. Thank you for everything you guys have done and that you continue to do. And I want to say to everyone, welcome. Hope everyone's safe. I'm glad everybody's here. Evidently, you guys have a lot of questions. I see the chat room is already getting filled up, which is good. But basically, the purpose of today's town hall is about you and the campus. A number of you have shared your concerns, your fears, your excitement with me, and I truly do appreciate that. But hopefully we can answer those questions and address new ones that you may have. So we have the esteemed panel here to talk about different areas and aspects of the reentry and respond to your questions. Basically, we have Carrie Tendovic. She's director of the environmental health and safety. So she'll address some of the health and safety concerns that you've expressed to me. We have Renita Simmons. As everyone knows, she's the Executive Director of Human Resources. She'll talk about issues regards to vaccinations, things that you need to know about coming to campus and things like that. So she's here to answer those questions. And we have Marcus Richardson, who's not only a buddy of mine, but basically he's the Executive Director of Strategic Initiative. And if I can just say on a personal, Marcus has been working his tail off day and night with your concerns. There's many times he's asked me about this. I've expressed it to him. So Marcus and everyone else, thank you. So he'll be here also to address those issues, concerns that people may have. We also have here, I'm sorry, I'm trying to see the name here. Don Wentz, who's the Chief of Public Safety. I know the number one question I've been getting these past few days is about how do I enter the campus? Where do I enter the campus? So he'll address those issues and concerns with you. We have Richard Klein from Online Services Manager. And we also have RJ Gillian. Strangely enough, the questions I get are about water. So he'll address the questions and concerns you have about water, the bottles, and everything you need to know itself. Basically, what you're seeing here is the format and agenda today. But if I can just briefly just talk about the format somewhat, please keep your mics muted. That way we can clearly hear each other. If you have questions or concerns, please definitely address them in the chat room. They will be addressed. If you have comments, please also, they'll be monitored and addressed at the end of the meeting itself. So again, mute, post, and go. So with that in mind, as we start the information, everything you need to know about returning to the campus. So I'm actually going to turn to our first panelist, which is Marcus Richardson. So Marcus, take it away.
Hi, welcome everyone. It's so good to see so many familiar faces. Good to see you too, Larry. And I'm going to talk today about the centralized inquiry form that we've set up. So as folks are coming back to campus and inquiring about equipment needs or their space or water, we wanted to make sure that at the scale of Brooklyn College, we can have a very clear and organized way to make sure that we're addressing your concerns. I want to thank the communication team. This was not an easy lift. It's very intricate. All of these concerns route to logic and routes appropriately to the Office of Facilities or Environmental Health and Safety. And it really helps to prioritize and to allow us to follow up with our existing resources. So thanks so much to Charles, Mara, and Anita for really getting a lot of this up and running. So the form integrates into existing business processes, as I mentioned. So the logic is built on whether or not you're a student, a faculty member, or a staff member. And then there are categories of concerns like access to campus, technology, telephone, environmental health and safety concerns, custodial, HRS, etc. So that logic actually helps us to plan with high priority and to follow up with all of our available resources. So I just ask that, again, at scale, please be patient. This is a high priority area for the president and for Alan. We're putting as much resources behind this as possible. So as folks are coming back to campus, as you're addressing your concerns, your inquiries, your needs, that we have a very streamlined, planned, and organized way to make sure that we're keeping track of all of those requests. The inquiry form should be used for most requests. However, I just wanted to say in the case of emergencies, such as flooding or fire, please make sure that you're reaching out to public safety. Their direct extension is at 5511 or from a mobile device at 718-951-5511, as well as for facilities at 5885-718-951-5885. And with that, I'll put that additional information in the chat and I will turn it over to Carrie.
Thank you, Marcus. And hi, everyone. I am really looking forward to seeing people on campus. I personally want to assure you that I would not be approving any of these spaces if I didn't think they were safe. We've also had CUNY and outside people on campus to check the environment, including ventilation. I know that people still have outstanding concerns about returning together, so I appreciate Alan talking about that saying, returning safely together, because we are your partners and you are our partners. And while we've done everything we can and we continue to do everything we can around the built environment, having people in that built environment is going to change things. And so we need your feedback. We expect that we will get feedback on a regular basis, daily, and we'll do our best to respond to that quickly and elevate those urgent needs as they come in. I want to say thank you to the president for bringing up the masking issue at the top of the hour. And I think what she said is really important, because as we all know, the guidance has been so fluid on an hourly or daily basis. And while many of us were ready to throw our masks away at the beginning of summer, get together with friends who are vaccinated and family, we are seeing that the Delta variant has really changed the landscape, and that it is recommended to continue wearing a mask indoors, even if you're vaccinated. And that is the message in keeping with state and university guidance. We'll continue to monitor if university guidance changes. At this point, everyone is encouraged to wear masks indoors.
Carrie?
Unvaccinated, yes.
Let me just jump in. You're doing a fantastic job, but something that I knew was coming down the pike is now down the pike. And that is a new temporary mask mandate indoors for all CUNY campus buildings. So just wanted to let folks know about that. It looks like it happened just a few minutes ago. It's been posted in the chat. This is a perfect example of how fluid this situation is. We're going to have to communicate with you probably through the weekend. So please check your email if you're not already checking. So Carrie, the university is now mandating masks indoors in all CUNY buildings, which includes all of Brooklyn College, except for circumstances in which someone is in a private space. So you can take a look at that. I think it's linked on the chat.
Okay.
And so I think we're good on this. Carrie, just wanted to point that out.
Great. Well, that makes the message easier.
Certainly it's clear.
Yes, and we have signage that we are printing up that I think can. So one of the challenges, as you can imagine, is the messaging and having something on paper that we paid money for and laminated and spent hours putting up, and then how do you make sure that it's still relevant? So we're going to make sure that it's still relevant, and all of our signage will be, including these mask required here signage, will be available for offices and individuals to print out on campus as we churn out more permanent signs. But going back to the masking, yes, we have our message has from day one is that wearing is caring. And that's still true, because we're protecting not only ourselves, but primarily we're protecting those who are unvaccinated or who may be at higher risk around us. We have nearly 30,000 disposable masks in stock. We have several thousand reusable masks, and those are going to be part of our welcome kit, which we will be going over a little bit later. So I think I can turn it back to the moderator. Thanks, Larry.
Sorry. Thank you, Carrie. And thanks, Michelle, for giving us that breaking news. That's because you're live. So we're going to turn over to Renita, who's going to talk about basically verification as far as vaccination is concerned.
Thank you, Larry. Before I get into the vaccination process, I wanted to just take a minute to talk a little bit about people, state of mind, things that people are struggling with that are not obvious. So that all of these changes that we are facing, thinking about reentry, just quadruple the problem for a lot of people that are struggling, that haven't even gotten back to campus yet. And I think we all need to just be aware of that. Some of the stuff Alan hit on, we are getting involved in things that we have not necessarily gotten involved with before. These are unusual times. It is not a normal situation by any means. The people I've talked to over the last couple of weeks in terms of accommodations, you cannot imagine from A to Z, we have these issues that we have to face and we have to deal with. So my public service announcement is that if you are good, the number one priority is to care for yourself, care for your family. And if you're in a good mental place, you need to reach out to a colleague, to a family member, because there are so many people that are not good. They're not good mentally, they're not good financially. It's not obvious. It is by no means on the surface of what people are going through. And this is hard for me I do this stuff for a living. After we get through this, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this for a living because it's been quite a challenge. But how do you prepare a manager for those things that you're going to face? Your staff or your colleague asking you for, maybe they'll ask for help and maybe they won't. Maybe somebody just comes in and has a meltdown. But we need to be prepared for these things that maybe they happen, maybe they don't happen. I just want to throw it out there. And if where you may need help, there are resources available. Do not hesitate to call me, to email me. I want to just throw out a couple of things that people may or may not be aware of, the resources that we have available to us. Employees don't use enough the CUNY, the EAP service that we have. It's listed on the website. The CUNY work-life balance. Not only they work with people on financial issues, counseling issues, it's a resource that's there that's available. PSC and DC 37, both unions have counseling services. They have resources available. So to the extent you may not be able to help someone, you can point them in the right direction, that they should use their unions to get the help. And again, it could be, it's A to Z, it's everything. And then the last thing I'll mention is New York City. New York has done an incredible job of putting resources together, because it's not only the college that's going through this struggle, or CUNY going through the struggle, it's people all across the city. So they have all sorts of resources. They have something called text, chat, or talk, text, or chat, 24/7 available resource to people. Because a lot of people, they don't think that necessarily that there are resources available to help them. So again, I encourage you that if you're good, reach out and try to help, check in with somebody else to see if they're good. If they're not good, that's what we're here for, to try to help point you in the right direction, or to get the help that you need so that you can help somebody else. It doesn't necessarily have to be an employee or somebody in your area. It can be anyone. Because this that we're going through, everybody's going through right now, it's a difficult and challenging time. And Lord knows, we give you a set of instructions and they change tomorrow, just as the president announced something that changed just that quickly. So please be good to yourself, take care of yourself. And if you're good enough, maybe you can reach out and to support somebody else, because everybody needs support during this time. Now I'll say just a few minutes things on vaccination. Vaccination process, it's going extremely well for the short period of time that we had to get information into the system. People received the message that they have to upload their information into CUNY first, or they will be tested. Now, we had some stumbles in terms of people uploading their information, but I think most of those kinks have been worked out. We have something like it's a little over 900, the number says 918 here, we're a little higher right now, of people that have uploaded their information into the system, which is great. If you don't have your vaccination information, you will be subject to testing. And the testing site just opened up, and I'm happy to see that they've added hours and days to their schedule. Because we had some people that were not necessarily able to, they either didn't have a vaccination information, but they were able to walk in to be tested. And I understand quite a few people have, the word has gotten out about they will take walk-ins if they can handle the volume. And someone asked me the question just not too long ago about, do I have to be tested through CUNY or can I go any place to be tested? It must be through a CUNY site. And we have, I think it's 20, but I think Mark is going to talk a little bit more about that later. Must be a CUNY site that you're tested on. Some of the challenges are that, unfortunately, we have employees and we have students. And if you have a student, the status of the student takes precedent over the employee. So what does that mean for somebody like Marcus? I can't see his record because it's on the student side. And even more complicated, if they're not attending Brooklyn College, only the school, the main school that the person is attending can check that record. So we have some issues there that we're still trying to sort out. If you have received a reasonable accommodation, somebody, you have an issue, you are not able to, you need to work 100% remotely, you need to have a reasonable accommodation. I send you a letter, that information is uploaded into the system so that it is recognized that you will be exempt from testing. But you either have your documentation in place in CUNY first, or you will be subject to testing. And so that is where we are. So far, it's going well. I think it's getting better as we work out the kinks in the system. More to come. You will hear more going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Thanks for sharing that information with us. And I actually kind of agree with that. Actually, I totally agree with that. We need to take care of each other. And if anyone has any concerns, please reach out. That's all I can say at the moment. But now I'm going to turn it over to Marcus to talk about testing. So, Marcus.
Hi, thanks, Larry. So as Renita alluded to, there are over 20 sites where you can get tested across the system. I'll share a link with that information soon in the chat. But I just wanted to take a moment to really explain the process of how we got our testing site up and running. And it happened in the span of 2 weeks. And it started with Chief Donald Wentz and his team on a Saturday early in the morning, getting the vendor in, assessing the site in record time, and then getting that information up to CUNY. I think we were one of the first colleges to get that in. And then last Saturday, again, his team, as well as the student center team, particularly Calvin Abrams, Mitsu Adams, that's within VP Jackson's team, got everything up and running that Saturday. And as of Monday, our site was up and running. And so since this week, it's our hours of operations have been in effect. And right now, I believe we have the hours of operations are from Monday from 9 to 3 p.m. and then Tuesday from 1 to 7 p.m. Wednesday from 1 to 7 p.m. as well. Thursday, the site is closed. It's in the student center, room 116. It's the game room. And then Friday and Saturday from 9 to 3 p.m. The turnaround times for testing are 24 hours when it's within the week and about 48 hours on the weekend. So those are our hours of operation. And we were probably the first site. Alan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were the first site in CUNY to get up and running, thanks to the student center team and our public safety team. The vendor that CUNY is using is called Applied DNA, and the vendor that they're using for their mobile app that will display your negative tests is called Cleared for. It's Cleared for Work. So just be aware of those names as you're receiving emails. It's not spam. Just make sure that you're careful to when the vendor's communicating with you. Regarding testing, so testing opened up on the 9th, and then it will be fully up and with multiple dates as of in place for 8/16, and then it will be opened up for students on 8/23. So just in terms of timing, just to make sure that you're planning accordingly, because those folks that need to test in order to gain access to campus, you need to do so in advance of actually coming on campus. And just remember to check your expiration date on your negative COVID test, because it's only valid for 1 week. Regarding testing exemptions, Renita already alluded to this. The only way to get exempted, other than the accommodation route, is for you to get vaccinated and go through the vaccination verification process. And then that would take you a different path where you would not be subject to weekly testing. The last thing I wanted to mention is that The vendor has asked for appointments. However, we got yesterday confirmation that they would be accommodating walk-ins wherever possible. So if you need to get tested, I'll share the sites that are available. You can pick a CUNY site that may be more convenient to where you live, and I'll share that information in the chat. Thanks so much. I'll turn it back over to Larry.
Thank you, Marcus, for sharing that information also. He touched on briefly about campus access. So I know that's the number one question I've been getting these past few days. So we have Donald to address that situation about, campus access. So Don?
I'd unmute myself
I was
first.
about to say.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I have to tell you that on behalf of all the officers from Campus Public Safety, we're quite excited to have human beings back on the campus. We've been working last year and a half, looking at brick walls and watching squirrels run across the quad. So to have live bodies once again back on campus is going to be quite exciting for us. But I do ask you that when you do come to campus, to try to be patient, not only with us, but with your coworkers, because we are embarking on a new entry process. We're pivoting right away from something that we've been doing for over more than the past year to an entirely new process overnight. So you can expect lines. We ask you to be patient. Obviously, the longer this goes on, the easier it will become. My officers will become more familiar with it, and we'll be able to get people in quicker and faster. Basically, to get onto campus, come Monday, you're going to need one of two things, either a Vax Pass from Everbridge. If you're familiar with the Everbridge app on your phones, Vax Pass has now been added there for those that have been vaccinated and approved, or a negative COVID test from being tested, and that comes from the Cleared 4, which is the vendor that's doing the testing. One of those two things and a Brooklyn College ID card, whether it be a hard copy or a digital ID, will be required to get onto campus. Unfortunately, if you don't have these, we're not going to be able to let you in. As far as campus access points, as of right now, we are opening 3 sites minimum. We're going to have open Whitehead Hall as an entryway, the Roosevelt Hall entrance on Campus Road, and the Westgate entrance to the parking lot. If we have sufficient personnel and the crowd's not too bad, we are going to expand on those openings along the lines of probably Hillel Gate and the Pack Center Gate to be first, and then along the gates on Bedford Avenue. Now, the issue has come up, what about individuals that don't have a smartphone? If you don't have a smartphone, we urge you, before you come to campus, make sure you have your ID and print out either your Vax Pass or your negative COVID test. We will accept the printed copy at the gates. And once again, I look forward to seeing everybody who I haven't seen in a year and a half.
Okay, Donald, thank you for that. I'm going to turn it back to Carrie because I know people have questions about physical spaces, their office. So Carrie, here you go.
Hi. Okay. So, well, if I didn't say it before, I just want to assure everyone that our campus, the physical environment, meets or exceeds CDC, state, local, and university guidelines for higher education. And we've had people on campus from CUNY and consultants who've come on campus to also check that out. What I want to first start with is our welcome kits or our supply kits for offices, which I think there may have been a photo that was flashed to the group, but these are bags that include disposable masks, reusable masks with the BC logo. We have disposable gloves, personal hand sanitizer, desktop hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes, office signage. You can see the wearing is caring. How do you get these? And also we're 8 tip sheets for individuals. How do you get these? So in Old Ingersoll, basement of Ingersoll Hall, 0229. We have staff who will be handing these out Monday through Thursday, 9 to 12 p.m. The extension is 6229. Each of these bags contains enough supplies for 5 individuals, but you are welcome to request additional if you have if you have more offices that you are picking up for. They're lightweight enough for most people to handle. We are also issuing special equipment where it is warranted, and this includes desktop HEPA filters. We have 300 on hand, but we are ordering more. We have already installed or delivered plexiglass barriers to those reception desks. And there are other features which I'll discuss as part of the ventilation. But first, I just wanted to talk about distancing. So I put in the chat a link to the CUNY website FAQ. And because of the mandate for students to be fully vaccinated for the semester and in-person classes, and the vaccine or test out option for staff and faculty, the capacity restrictions and social distancing requirements have generally been lifted at the state level for higher education. However, we think it's important to, where we can, increase distancing between individuals. And so rooming for the classrooms, we've already discussed this, but classrooms where possible, the registrar has scheduled these sections to be in larger classes wherever feasible. Labs and studios tend to already have sufficient space to accommodate distancing. And same thing with offices. And just another note about offices, the rotational schedule, we think that, although I haven't seen return to work plans and staffing levels, the messaging should be and has been that offices can schedule such that the density is going to be maintained to be low, which means that there's more fresh air for the individual. And then just one more thing about distancing is that, we recognize when you're in your private office, like I am now, I can choose to let someone in or not. But when I go out to the bathroom or the elevator, that becomes a more challenging space. And so those spaces, we're going to continue to maintain a capacity and distancing protocol so that people feel more assured. And masks are going to be required, obviously, in indoor settings now. So that makes it, again, easier for us and the messaging. Okay, ventilation. As I mentioned, CUNY has walked through all of our buildings with a third-party engineering consultant. And we have been assured that all of our buildings are safe for occupancy and use, with just 2 locations as the exception. And those have been mentioned in previous forums, I believe, but that's the 6th floor art studios of Boylan and some windowless rooms in the Whitman Knuckle. Those spaces are getting literally boarded off or locked, and they become construction spaces. There will be no entry except for authorized individuals, construction workers who will be accessing those spaces to do mechanical replacement of equipment. There are a few other locations, as I think we've mentioned in the past, Library Cafe, where we are working, or there's some additional parts that we are waiting for, and we'll keep the campus community up to date as those spaces become available. So that's just at the beginning of the semester where the library cafe will be closed. I will also say that there are a couple other locations where we have capital work underway, and so there may be some changes, but even with those capital construction projects underway, spaces, if they're open, it's because they have operable windows. If you have an operable window, you're good to go. That is certainly something that I know people are nervous about. We have a PO in place to restore or repair window balances that are difficult to open or that have over the years been found to be problematic, and people just said, oh, well, I have a window AC, what do I need to worry about? We're going to take care of those, but we do want you to report those with that inquiry form in case they're not on our list. We think we have a solid list of those locations, but that's where you're coming back to campus, and the partnership is really critical. We have, at this point, Joe Nigro on the operation team have gone through and changed or upgraded ventilation filters across the campus for the mechanical ventilation units, and they're starting on the window ACs, or they started on the window ACs. I can't report on that today, but we have MERV 13 or MERV 14 filters in all of our mechanical supply fans, supply air fans. And for instructional spaces where we have higher volume, we have mounted UVC air cleaners, and we are continuing to do that work. We have just another note about windows. We are also in the process of purchasing or installing window screens. And we have also installed exhaust fans in labs in Old Ingersoll on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor, as well as we are installing exhaust fan in the printmaking studio in the 4th floor of Boylan. I just want to also say that in terms of hygiene, throughout the campus, we have touchless automatic dispensers for hand sanitizer. So in addition to those sanitizers that are going to be in your office, they'll be available once you enter a building in the lobby or near stairwells or near elevator lobbies. And in addition, we have in some locations, like near the beginning, we're at the front end of the campus entrances, like the Whitehead entrance and the Roosevelt Bedford entrance, we've installed disinfecting wipe dispensers. And those are also in a couple of locations from our efforts around fall semester and spring semester. And then there's a tremendous amount of work that's being done by our plumbers and carpenters to install touchless features in the bathrooms. You will find this touchless paper towel dispensers and more automatic faucets at the sinks. And I think that may be it for me. Did I miss anything, Marcus? Please let me know.
Okay, thank you again, Carrie.
Larry.
That's okay. But we all know it wouldn't be an office without having water coolers. So I know everybody wants to know the water cooler situation. So we have Archie to talk about that.
Thanks, Larry. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, we all know how hot it is out there right now. So we're making sure you'll all be cool and hydrated with the new water coolers we're bringing in. I would like to thank the staff in facilities, campus safety, EHS, accounts payable, purchasing, and campus support services, especially along with the vendors to get this work done. Our first focus was health and safety. So we had to remove the old coolers due to the risk of stagnant water, which could lead to the growth of Legionella. In addition to that, our contract with the older vendor expired, which made it necessary to get the inventory out in a timely manner. Now, to provide some context, basically we went all over campus to pick up these coolers and bottles and then deliver them to the vendor to take back. And now the same process is currently happening right now in reverse in getting the new coolers into your offices. That being said, the coolers have and are being delivered in general office areas, so the staff can decide where exactly to place them. They are relatively light, but if you need assistance in in getting them to be moved, please email bcwater@brooklyn.cuny.edu. And lastly, a couple of things came up since the recent water announcement went out. If your office had a cooler prior to the remote work period, it should be getting a new one along with 3 water bottles. We ask that you reach out again to BC Water when you put in your last bottle so we can start regular deliveries to your office with the vendor based on your staffing and your need. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it back to Larry.
Okay, thank you for the information and the update. I know people have questions about their equipment, desktop. Oh, are we going back to Carrie? Carrie, do you have more to say? Okay. All right.
Larry, no, I don't. I think this was,
Yeah, I think you
I
covered
grouped it all together.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, though. But actually, we're going to turn to Richard. He's going to talk about ITS equipment because I know everybody has questions about, their equipment because some of them are not at their desk. But anyway, I turn over to Richard right now.
Everyone, hope you can hear me. Just good afternoon, and I'll just be brief because I know everyone has a lot of questions, I'm sure. So, but just before I start, I just really want to acknowledge the hard work of the entire ITS team. I mean, from the help desk, the network team, development team, our lab staff, our managers. I mean, chances are you work with one or more of them over the past year, if not multiple times. So just big thank you to everyone in ITS, and just keep up. It's just amazing what everyone's pulled together and is able to accomplish. It's just been an unprecedented year for us here in IT. I mean, everyone's just had to do so much to keep college running. I mean, this is new territory, right? Shifting from in-person to remote, and now we're going back to this hybrid model, which again is just probably, if not equally, it'll be more challenging, I think. And now we're dealing with equipment now at home, at work, synchronizing files. There's gonna be so many things going on. But the good news is, at least this time, we've had some time to prepare. So what I can just want to reemphasize is just please be patient, with technicians, and everyone on the team is just doing everything they can to fulfill your requests as quickly as possible and to answer your questions, solve your problems, whatever we can do, we'll do. So let me go quickly into equipment. I know that's what we want to touch on here, just to give you a sense of the scale, right, of this move to remote that we've had. Since last August, we fulfilled over 2,000 equipment requests. So to give you a sense of what that means, each piece of equipment potentially needs to be, whether or not we have to buy it. If we bought it, then it has to be clean. Most of them are being shipped, then they have to be tracked. So think about that. On campus alone, we only have about 2,000 office computers. So you're taking almost the entire quantity of equipment on campus and moving that to remote work. And that's just really difficult. So it's just been a monumental effort on that part. The good news is we sent the last equipment survey in July. We got over 650 responses, which was really great. We confirmed, what we thought, about a third of our staff had to take equipment home. So this is home computers, home equipment that were brought from the office back to your house. And so if you plan on keeping that equipment at home and you have to go back to the office, please submit a new equipment request, right? Because equipment requests have to be reviewed. They have to be approved, right? They have to make sure we have, the purchase items. So make sure that you get those in as soon as possible. And I'll touch briefly on a new process we have for that. We're also working through 175 new equipment requests that came in as part of the survey. So we are working on those as quickly as possible. So please be patient on those. We'll get those done. We're working through those diligently. So how do you request equipment? I just want to touch on that briefly. As part of the process Marcus mentioned, the new request process, we have a new equipment request process. So the equipment request process it's gonna be a brand new form. You'll go on, you'll sign in with your Web Central ID, but we'll know who you are already. and you'll just be able to submit the request, the process for what is equipment, if you're in the office, what kind of equipment it is, what you need, and it'll go through automate the whole process of approval. So it should save a lot of time and effort on our team, and also keep you in the loop so you know what's going on. And there are devices, so if you do need questions about headsets and webcams, computers, laptops, tablets, any device that you need, just put down the equipment request. And if there's a question, you have any problems, like always, keep an eye for an email in the coming days. There'll be more information about the request form. And any other questions, always feel free to contact the help desk. Call them, email them. It's helpdesk@brooklyn.cuny.edu. And the phone number, as always, is 718-951-4357. And we'll put information we'll post information on the chat, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, thank you for that information. Thank all of our panelists for the information they shared. But now this is about you, the questions that you have posed to us. So at this point, we're going to read the questions that you posted both in the chat room and prior, and have one of our panelists respond to it.
So the first question from the chat is, I am an employee of the Research Foundation. I uploaded my vaccination there. Do I need to upload my vaccination to CUNY First also?
You want me to take that one, Marcus?
Sure.
Okay, the Research Foundation process is paralleling the CUNY process. The person, whoever asked the question, please check Everbridge as well and see if your Vax Pass is there. Unfortunately, we don't have control or always information on some of these things, but based on what I've been told, if you went through the Research Foundation process, it should work exactly the same as if you went through the tax levy process. If it doesn't work, please let us know and we will follow up.
Alan, I just want to add to that.
Okay, sure.
We at CUNY do not have the ability to upload RF people into CUNY First. RF has a separate system. I think we're going to be given access to it so that we can see. But if you've done it in RF, you should be good. Follow up with RF if you don't see it as being approved, but we do not have the ability to enter that information into CUNY First. Just want to make that clear.
Right, thank you, Renita. RF employees have received numerous emails from the RF about all this. Please contact Robin Nesby, who's our liaison with the Research Foundation. She's in the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. She could certainly assist. Robin's great. She could certainly assist if you need any help.
Okay, thank you for that. I see the questions now. Thank you. Well, the second question I have listed here is, are people rewarded by not getting tested? They want to work remote and their punishment for not getting tested is their preference. So I guess the question is there reward for not getting tested?
Can I take that one?
Certainly, please.
We should be clear about this. And we had a long discussion about it at the HR directors meeting on Monday. Everyone, you either need to be tested, your information uploaded to a system, be that RF, CUNY First, wherever, to indicate that you are fully vaccinated. You've gone through that process and you're vaccinated. If you are not vaccinated, if you choose not to disclose, the only other option for you is that you must be tested. If someone wants to work 100% remotely, we've had a vigorous process. It's about a month and a half now of going through the accommodation request. Be that medical or general, there must be a process that you go through to explain why you need to work 100% remotely. The president has been very clear about our goal in terms of sharing the load, getting people to come back to campus, the schedule. People are coming in 1 day a week, 2 days a week. There are not a lot of areas that are coming back 5 days a week for this whole place that we're in now with social distancing and trying to keep people safe. So there's lots of flexibility. The fall semesters probably will be lots of flexibility, but there is no such thing as that you can get out of one or the other. You're either vaccinated or that you are tested. So the question came up, what happens if you don't want to do either one? Then you're going to have a problem because you're not going to be allowed on campus. You probably will not be paid. This turns into a disciplinary issue. And it just goes on and on. But there's a rigorous process and there is review. It's one or the other. And there are no cases where you can choose, I'm going to work 100% remotely because I don't want to test. That it does not exist.
Okay, thank you for that. That's pretty clear. The next question we have is, how do we ensure all non-tax leaving employees or students get access to campus before classes start? How do they get the ability to get an appointment for testing? How do they get the CUNY Fax Pass? Anyone want to respond to that one?
I'll do the parts I know.
Okay,
So, which is again, it's a fluid target.
right.
The university is working on a policy both for non-tax levy employees and for visitors to the campus, which is going to parallel but not be the same process we're currently using for our tax levy and our research foundation employees. We were notified yesterday and about the start of this process, and we had to provide a list to the university of the people who we believe fall into that category. We had around a couple hours to do that. Thankfully, we had our C-entry system that we've been using for access for the past 6 months, and we have a great IT team, and work that Amir Ganik and his team have done, and work that Marcus has done. We were able to get that information to the university before the deadline. We had over 700 people on that list. We are now waiting for guidance from the university on how to proceed and what the next steps are, including what happens Monday for those individuals. In terms of students, and I believe it was said earlier, but I'll repeat it, the university has not loaded student vaccination information into the Everbridge system as of yet. So I do not believe students currently will be able to pull that. And as was mentioned earlier, employees we have that are also students, they fall into the same category because the student restriction is a bit greater due to students being in classrooms and people in instructional spaces needing to be vaccinated. There are certain inconsistencies there that we're working out. And please be patient with everybody as we're trying to learn this as fast as you're learning it. We will address individual issues as they arise and come up with the best solutions we can come up with to ensure the safety of people in the campus community. As Don said earlier, if you do not have a green token on your vaccination pass, don't come on Monday. And we will resolve it, and we'll deal this day by day and make sure that every single person, we have the right information to ensure them access to the campus, and equally important, ensure the safety of those individuals on the campus. It's a very tough balance. Safety, as I said before, started with it. Safety will always come first.
Okay, thank you for that. My next question is, if you have a problem accessing the Excelsior Pass on your phone, can you use the printed out version to be scanned? I think Don addressed this before. So Don, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, it's not the Excelsior Pass. It's the Vax Pass or the cleared for negative test. Yes, you can print out off your computer and bring a printed copy.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add, campus safety will not be looking at tests that were outside of cleared for or vaccination confirmation, whether it's cards or Excelsior passes that are not part of Everbridge Vax Pass. It's just too many variables for them to look at and ensure the safety of the campus community.
Okay. The next question, can you distinguish between the reentry protocols, if any, for Research Foundation employees and Brooklyn College employees?
I got it. There's based on what we've been told, there should be absolutely no difference between the two. Both should have an Everbridge Vax Pass if they they're fully vaccinated and the appropriate HR office approved it, or a recent negative COVID test from cleared for. In terms of what people see and what is presented at the gate, there should be no difference whatsoever based on the information we were given. As far as I know, no one on my team has seen what a cleared for negative, COVID pass looks like. We have seen what a Vax pass looks like. So if anyone knows anybody who has a negative, has a cleared for thing, please email to me. You can redact the name. It would be nice to see what that actually looks like because we do need to train our team.
The next question goes to, why are student vaccinations required to attend the classroom, but not to go to the library or learning center or the computer lab?
So I guess I should take that. That was a decision by CUNY Central that students would be required to vaccinate if they came to campus, but that some students who were not vaccinated still needed access to campus facilities like computer labs or study spaces in the library. That's one of the reasons why those spaces are mandatory mask spaces. Of course, now CUNY's changed the guidance and all interior spaces across CUNY are mask required spaces. But this was a decision initially announced by the governor that you had to have a mask if you were engaged in any on-campus classes. And that was the limitation imposed initially.
Okay, thank you. The next question is a pretty long one, so I'm going to break it down. What is the administration's response or protocols for a member of the campus community that tests positive for COVID-19 while working or attending classes on campus? Will the campus community be notified of any active infections? Will the campus be closed or remain open?
Larry, I'll take that.
Mhm.
So we have a post-positive case protocol that will continue to employ. Different than spring 2020, it's been shown that there's not a need for campus-wide or even building-wide closures. We can pinpoint, with everyone's help to rapidly notify us, and also with the testing requirements to identify the location where a positive case has been on campus. And part of that protocol involves notification of people who've been in person on campus over this past year. We've been doing it through using the C-Entry program or the C-Entry system, but moving forward and starting in the fall, or I guess next week, we will be notifying everyone, campus community of positive cases. Contact tracing is still a critical public health preventive measure that will help us identify close contacts, although public health guidance also says that if you're fully vaccinated, that you don't need to go into a quarantine period, but more information is always helpful. So I think so, yes. Campus will be notified, campus will remain open. Affected areas, meaning a room or an office, will be closed depending on the time frame between when the person was on campus, when they became symptomatic, and when they were tested, will all determine specific actions that we take at the campus operations and building and grounds level.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. The next question, retired faculty need access to campus facilities, example, library, recreation, department, colleagues, etc. How can retirees do so if our CUNY First IEDs have lapsed since it's been several semesters since last teaching? How do we then register our vaccinated status?
I'll take it. Active employees and active students are the individuals who, based on the current guidelines, will be going through the Everbridge FaxPass or the cleared for protocols. Others are considered visitors to the campus. That's the current university protocol. As I mentioned, we submitted some data to the university. We're waiting to get further guidance on what the process will actually look like. individuals who are, fall in that status, will have to apply for access, but the college does have a reentry review board. We've taken a very conservative approach to allowing visitors on campus, and this is something the reentry review board will need to consider moving forward, especially as we see changes in the Delta variant. Safety is our top concern. For example, we are not opening up the recreation center at this point in time. So that's something, people should keep an eye out, an ear out for. We will keep people posted as we know more.
Okay. The next question we have, well, this gets down to the nuts and bolts. When you get to it, what are provisions like at the college? Water, paper copiers, vending machines. So I know we already talked about water, but
yeah, I'll do it again. Sure. I got this thing. I guess I kind of know a lot.
Okay.
So while we were gone, over the last 18 months, the prior vendor that was providing food service and vending machine, Metropolitan Food Services, unfortunately is no longer in business in that service. 80% of their clients were community colleges. So obviously that didn't go very well. We do have a new vendor for vending machines. They're on campus now. Those of us who have been on campus have seen these new state-of-the-art, vending machines that take Apple Pay and take your credit card. It's really quite exciting. The current machines are not filled to capacity because the number of people on campus is not anywhere near capacity. The vendor has assured us that as capacity increases, they will, be able to, they will refill these machines as the need allows. I believe in our materials, we do have a list. I know Andrew Lanzer has a list of where these machines are located. What's even more exciting, there are other machines that they could, put on campus that will include, salads, things like that, that will definitely be available. We are working with the university on possibly having a grab and go on campus, and that people can come into a location and they pick up some quick things. It'll be prepared food. We're working with the university on that. There are some logistical challenges we're still needing to deal with. And there are a whole lot of new restaurants actually right around the corner. There's a pizza place where the hardware store used to be, right next to Nostrand Express. I haven't frequented it yet. Nostrand Express is still there. One of the OVs is still there. Fast food is still there, etc. But we do have a list of food services that are available there. So Arajeet mentioned the water. Larry, what else?
Paper, copiers, vending machines, you already addressed.
I did okay, copiers, your copiers are still there. During this period of time, some of the copiers have gone out of maintenance, and the vendor is not going to provide them anymore. Arajeet and his team is working on a list of those. We are in the process of negotiating with Xerox to provide copiers where needed to places that will be pay as we go. But we also want to take this opportunity to talk about sustainability. We've managed to do a whole lot of things over the last 18 months without printing out every piece of paper humanly imaginable. And we're going to be asking people to keep sustainability in mind. Carrie is overseeing our sustainability efforts. We want to find the balance between what we need to print and what we printed as a comfort that, guess what, maybe we don't need to print 20 copies of everything because we saved it on our devices, and we want to train people more on using Dropbox and OneDrive as appropriately. But there will be available copiers for everybody, and that's not going away. In terms of paper, etc., central stores, you'll have access to do paper and other things. We have not allowed people to order through Profitec at the present time, but when people return to campus and we see a need for that, we will do so. Please keep in mind, every Profitec order has to go through multiple places for approval and processing. And we have high priorities in terms of things we're purchasing to maintain the campus, including the safety. So we're trying to balance the needs accordingly. But if people need supplies, there will be mechanisms for people to get the supplies they need, but not to stockpile because they haven't had an opportunity to purchase things in the last 18 months.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
The next question, if the first proof of vaccination has been uploaded, but I'm still awaiting the second, is COVID testing still needed? And where on campus will this be provided?
Hey, I'm just going to go on a roll. So why
Okay.
not? Yeah, hey, why
All
not? In order to be certified and approved for your vaccination approval, you need to be fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated means 2 weeks after the last shot you took. So if you took Moderna or Pfizer, it's 2 weeks after the second shot. If you took Johnson and Johnson, it's 2 weeks after the first shot. If you took any of the other vaccinations that are approved by the World Health Organization that are on the drop down, it's 2 weeks after the last shot. So until you are fully vaccinated, when you're fully vaccinated, that's when you upload your card into CUNY First for tax levy employees or through the Research Foundation for Research Foundation employees. HR will then review and if appropriate approve at that point in time. Until that point in time, you must go through the weekly testing protocol and submit a negative COVID test.
Okay. The next question, I think Carrie can answer. Waiting to see about ventilation in the offices. Does AC count? Ours has been looked at because it does not work, so we only have a window.
Okay. First of all, why don't you put your room, whoever submitted that question, put your room number or your location in the chat so we can capture that today. Like I said, we have a list of AC malfunctioning ACs that we're working through, but if it's not a space or a equipment that has been reported to us, we may not have it on that list. That's one. Two, window ACs unfortunately do not count as being a source of ventilation because the opening for fresh air is just too small, and so it's not really intended to provide fresh air through that through the cooling, the face of the equipment. And so even with window ACs, we need to continue to open up windows. Opening windows as wide as possible is important. Keeping in mind, you don't want to open them so wide that they become a safety issue. Having a window open 15% is going to reduce transmission within a classroom like threefold. And the more windows that you can open is better. Recognize that in inclement weather, we may have periods where windows need to be just opened a crack, and that's why we are installing in the classrooms the UVC air cleaners. For offices, if it's a multi-person office where there's shared spaces and rotational schedules are not reducing that density, we have, as I mentioned earlier, desktop HEPA filters, which can help when the windows need to be closed just because of the extreme heat or extreme cold. And this is again for those buildings where there is no exhaust or supply air. Many of the spaces across campus, we've been able to rehabilitate and do replacement and maintenance of equipment, including where we have whole building exhaust fans. And I mentioned in the chat that we are reviewing that list so that we can share that with everyone with more details. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you. The next question. I teach a movement and lecture class in person this semester. Can I mandate that mask be worn in my class? Can I mandate that mask be worn in my class?
So masks are now mandated in all interior spaces at CUNY, at least temporarily, whatever that means from CUNY's perspective. That happened a few minutes before or as we started this session today. And if those mandates change, faculty members can mandate that an area be a mask required area. And it's also my position that office staff can mandate or employees can mandate that their areas where they work are also mask required areas. So if the global mandates change, we can do it by space. But just to let folks know, faculty members do have the authority to mandate masks.
Okay, thank you. The next question refers to campus security. What will the security presence be like in buildings as we return to offices that have less people? There may be times when individual staff members are working alone in their department or office. Are there safety protocols in place? Also, walking to or from local subway stations as we move into the fall and winter season.
Okay, I'll take this. Actually, we had a very little loss of manpower than we had when we were previously open. We did lose a couple of offices, but we picked up one from the academy, and we have some more going in shortly. But like just before the pandemic, if you're working alone, you're in a building, you're alone, call our office, let us know. We will send somebody on patrol to stop by, knock on the door, make sure you're okay frequently. So that's not an issue. As far as traveling to and from campus, we will have a college shuttle available. Call our office, they're available to pick you up and bring you to the local transit stops.
Okay.
So Larry, can I jump in? We've got about 85 questions in the queue, and we're prepared to stay and answer all of them. This was going to be an hour-and-a-half session, but we will stay and answer all the questions that are in the queue. So keep them coming.
Okay, thank you. That's reassuring. All right, the next question I have, I am in the school business. My Monday, Wednesday class are hybrid courses. They are listed on CUNY First as online with one in-person meeting. Students have registered with that understanding. Will that destination remain throughout the semester or change during the semester? What can I tell or assure my students?
I could take it, I guess. It's likely that it will stay the same. It's a hybrid class requested with one, most likely for an exam.
There you go. The next question. The debt forgiveness for students is exciting, but it's not clear how it worked. Can every student who had a tuition balance from last year now register without paying it off? How are students being clearly informed?
Yasmin. Oops.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yasmin, you want to handle that one?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. So the new CUNY Comeback program is indeed an extremely exciting program. It is designated to assist over 50,000 students across the university and represented about $125 million. Our campus had the automatic payments as part of that process already processed for Brooklyn College students. The semesters in question were only pandemic related semesters. So that included spring 2020, fall 2020, winter 2021, summer 2020, and spring 2021. So those were the specific semesters for students who had outstanding debt to Brooklyn College and who met various eligibility criteria, such as having a approved FAFSA on file. Either students who also graduated within those semesters. And then finally, students who had balances of $100 or less for any of those semesters had balances automatically adjusted. And this included also undergraduate and graduate students. The second component of the program is a hardship component. So for students who have not, who didn't meet the original eligibility criteria, students are also able to complete a hardship application. The university is working on a university-wide application at this time. We were given a draft application today, actually, to review. And then each of the individual campuses will be tasked with submitting and having a committee to review all of the hardship applications. The university is giving the colleges up until the end of the fall 2021 semester to complete and process any hardship applications received at the campus level.
Okay, thank you. The next question, does the college have a list of every room and space on campus, the maximum occupancy under social distancing for each room? Let's see. For each room, I'm sorry, I'm going to start again. Does the college have a list of every room and space on campus, the maximum occupancy under social distancing for each room, the number of students or staff assigned to each room, depending on classes scheduled for particular rooms, and the ventilation plan for each room? It's pretty detailed. If so, can that be shared with the community? The DOE provided a similar chart for my child's school last year, and it was very helpful.
Larry, I'll take that.
Okay.
So we have, for all instructional spaces, we've worked with facilities planning to, and as part of the fall 2021 planning process leading up to today, we did go through a social distancing and exercise of figuring out based on floor plans what would be appropriate numbers at a 6-foot social distancing. However, with the lifting of restrictions and that change in policy, those numbers are really not being referenced. We have shared those with, and it is also based on whether a space has mechanical ventilation or whether it is ventilated with windows, and or if it has been enhanced with UVC filters. But the message today is that, again, capacity and max occupancy numbers are not in use because of the vaccine mandate for students in in-person classrooms. And that registrar is scheduling those rooms in larger spaces wherever possible.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, if guidance changes, we are prepared to change with guidance.
Okay. The next question, will we be forced to get vaccinated by CUNY, stating that we will lose our jobs and pensions if we don't get vaccinated in the future?
Wow, that's pure speculation.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt it. It's not something that is mandatory. Vaccination is as I understand it, not advocated by the union. I don't see the university headed that way. Anything could happen. We will see. We're all surprised about how things have unfolded so far, and we will have to see where the state is, where CUNY is, and how the pandemic evolves to know what's going to happen in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually going to combine the next two questions because they're similar in nature. What about private spaces that use a shared HVAC system? How do we know if an office is serviced by an HVAC system?
So how do we know? A couple of ways, just physically. If you walked into your office tomorrow, you can notice that, for instance, you're looking for something along the lines of that, which is a supply air grill. In this room, all of the return air goes through the light fixtures, actually. But that's physical evidence right there. You can also find in Old Ingersoll grills on the wall adjacent to the corridor, or on, I think, some of the interior walls between classrooms. There are grills which serve as either supply or exhaust grills. So that's one way. Two, we are reviewing, I mentioned earlier, we're reviewing a comprehensive listing of ventilation type and level for each building and space. And then the question about shared HVAC systems. So yeah, all in locations such as James Hall, the return air does, part of it gets thrown back out at the outside, and some of it gets recirculated and filtered. And so that might be the shared air that is being was mentioned. The other possibilities, I'm kind of doing interpretation here, is that someone might be concerned about sharing a space with, I know of a space like in Student Center, for instance, where there are, we have these large rooms, and over time we've said, we want to make private offices, and you might have a short wall between you and your neighbor. And then you have the supply air grill that serves both spaces, and that's fine. And those spaces usually have been designed to ensure that there continues to be circulation of air in that space. If there's a more specific space that you have questions about, this is where that inquiry form would come in handy, so that we can answer the question with the level of specificity that it deserves.
Okay. I like this question. Will the gym and pool ever reopen? On a personal note, I hope so. I missed the gym.
Alan, we can't hear you if you're answering this.
Sorry. Got distracted with an emergency. Yes, they will. So we are in the process of actually beginning to refill we had to drain the pool because there are a lot of things that have to be done maintaining a pool, and we had to do so many other things to maintain the safety of the campus. We're in the process of refilling the pool. We will be resuming athletics across CUNY, and we need the pool for our swim team and all that. So we're in the process of refilling the pool, but at this point, that will not be for recreational use, and the gym will not be for recreational use. Recreational passes will continue to be extended and honored up until the time we reopen those facilities. But our primary focus continues to be the academic mission of our institution and ensuring the safety of our faculty, students, and staff. At that point, continuously, once we have that under control and the virus under control, or not us having the virus under control, the virus under control in general, we will then reconsider opening up, our theater, our gym, all the other extra wonderful services that we'd love to provide. But right now, we're not prepared to do that, again, in the interest of safety and being conservative.
Okay, something to look forward to eventually. What if you don't have 6 feet of space in your office and you need to work with someone? For example, I often need to check data for students on my desktop. I can only ask them to wait in the hall, I presume.
So again, I think we want to I think the plan is to have rotational schedules so that people are as separated as they can be. Where there's front-facing engagement with students, you can certainly require appointments before students can come in, keep them outside where they don't need to be inside. There's no mandate to engage with people closer than 6 feet if someone themselves does not feel comfortable in their own offices in that way. There's also a mandate for masking everywhere. Carrie, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I was just going to suggest that you can also, as part of waiting in the hallway, have them call your office phone and conduct business that way. And then if they need to check something on your screen, have them come in, take a quick look, and then have them step back. And that's one of the ways that I've been working with my staff here on campus.
Yeah, I just want to add, our licenses resume, our licenses for a team continue. Please try to use those things as well as the phones for meetings when at all possible. There may be cases appointments have to be in person, but they've not been in person now for 18 months. So it's okay to have Zoom meetings, with students and colleagues, et cetera, meetings on Teams and all that. Don't feel obligated because we're back that means there should be more in-person interaction. It shouldn't be in-person interaction, should only be when it's required because it's the only way to do so.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Can we ask students to leave our class if they're not properly masked? And if they refuse to leave, I guess, what's the response?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we can ask students to, well, as I mentioned before, there's a mask mandate for all interior spaces at CUNY at this point. So all folks, staff, faculty, and students, if it's an interior space, you need to wear a mask unless you're in a private office. So certainly it would be appropriate for a faculty member to ask a student to depart. I think we are all, as I think it was Mandisa in the chat, we all have to show an extraordinary amount of graciousness, and I think a faculty member would be backed up by students if they asked a student to leave who was not mandating, who was not masking. It's certainly and you know, we have to exert social pressure to enforce the rules, as well as where appropriate, reach out to public safety.
Okay. Next question: is the shared air filtered?
Shared air filtered depends on where you are talking about. If you're talking about, say, in the West Quad, yes, all air that is supplied and all air that is recirculated, so all fresh air and all recirculated air is filtered. In some locations, we have added additional air filters, filtration units, whether they be HEPA filters or UV light filters. There are some locations where we are relying on fresh air ventilation from windows and low density to ensure that there's adequate fresh air per person.
Okay. All right. Next question: what resources for academic support will be available in the fall? During the previous pandemic semesters, faculty have needed extra support to keep students connected. That has been terrific. Will it continue in the fall?
Yes, there'll be some extra support. I responded on the chat, and Richard Vento is the person to contact.
Okay, thank you. A question concerning the weekly test. What happens if you are on vacation and return late on your weekend and the testing facility is closed? How could you gain access to the campus the next day, which would be your first work day back? Will you be compensated because you can't get the test? Or if you get a test and the results take longer than they say, you will have to, I'm sorry, it's a little run on. Then they say, and you will have to lose a day's pay. Will you be compensated if you went the day before your 7 days is up?
Yeah, I could start, or Anita could jump in. I believe vacations, and Michelle could jump in as well. I believe in doing vacation schedules, you have to include the testing in your vacation planning, being for the safety of everybody. If you need to have the negative test before you return to campus. I don't know, Michelle and Renita, anything you
Yeah,
want to add?
the only thing I wanted to add is that people had to schedule vacations before these rules came on board, and we want to be flexible and appropriate with people. We don't want to be unreasonable or rigid. We want to support people who've made plans beforehand. But going forward, I think there's a testing protocol, and people need to abide by it and think about it if they are not vaccinated or do not wish to disclose, on the basis of planning their future vacations.
Okay. The next question: what's the turnaround time for test results getting back? This is a question for those who live outside of the city who might have to commute to CUNY to get tested.
I could take that. So the vendor has stated that any test that's taken during the day, it's a 24-hour turnaround time, and anything that's taken on the weekend, a 48-hour turnaround time.
Okay, thank you. If undergraduate students wish to register with us to take independent research courses that require them to be in the lab throughout the term, will that be permitted? And are there special procedures we need to go through for such approval?
Yes. So it depends on the lab's reentry plan. I think I responded to this too previously. The lab's reentry plan, it goes through the RRB. So faculty should send their health and safety reentry plan to me. and or what they'd like to do. And I bring it to the RRB. We review it. There's a research group that does that.
Okay, thank you. Since even vaccinated people can get infected, shouldn't everyone get tested before entering campus?
That's an excellent question. And I think it's one that's not quite, as far as I read the FAQs, it's not quite resolved yet in terms of CUNY's plan. They talked about random testing or a larger testing pool, but some of the details have not been worked out. I think someone also brought up in the chat the question of whether or not, if someone was vaccinated, whether or not they could avail themselves of the testing opportunities at the CUNY site. I don't think that question has been answered either. We are going to seek to try to answer those questions. Again, the vaccination process, the details on that, and the cleared for process just were rolled out over the last couple of days. So these are some of the things that we need some clarity on.
Okay. What if you didn't know you were supposed to be tested only at a CUNY site and you went somewhere else already? So I guess they're asking, do they have to be tested again at CUNY?
At this point, yes, they will have to do that because we're not allowed to accept tests outside of CUNY. Communications were sent out to everybody. We are fully aware that not everybody has seen or received those communications. We're waiting for additional guidance, but the policy as of this moment, is that people have to go to one of the 20 CUNY sites for their testing.
So I'm still on this back to campus president.
Okay, here we go. Can people who have already been vaccinated also use the testing site? Can vaccinated people get tested?
That's another question that I don't believe that CUNY has fully answered. I don't think it's totally clear in the FAQs that CUNY has provided on the testing sites. I'm going to seek to, a couple of people have asked those questions. They're very important, legitimate questions. We don't quite have the answer to them right now. Hopefully we will by next week.
Okay. The next question is actually a follow-up to Alan. I'm a little confused about Alan Gilbert's message just now about minimizing in-person interaction with students. At the library, the expectation, since we will be open, is that we will be staffing all public services desks, where by default we work one-on-one with students.
Well, for the library, as Carrie mentioned earlier, we do have plexiglass available. So those individuals who will be having walk-up services, plexiglass will be available. We asked, and I know we've met with the library individually. Sometimes too much plexiglass causes a different problem that the air can't flow. But for those cases where there is a requirement to interact face-to-face, we will avail ourselves of plexiglass and other supplements to ensure safety. The new masking protocol, which was announced that we learned about during this meeting, will certainly help in that regard as well. The more distance people can separate between people, the better served we all are.
Okay. The next one, is there a link to self-report? If so, would it be accessible through CUNY first or through BC Web Central?
I think we need definition. What does self-report mean? I don't want to answer incorrectly. I'm not sure. Can you ask the person or the person who asked the question? Can you tell us what self-report means?
I think they're talking about self-reporting on the COVID test from an outside vendor. It's not authorized at this point. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes, that is not authorized at this point. It has to go through one of the 20 CUNY authorized testing centers.
Okay, thank you.
That are throughout the city.
What happens if a student has an evening class on Mondays and cannot come to campus before the testing site is closed?
The site is open, multiple days during the week. Then there are 20, as I said, there are 20 sites across the city. The student or faculty or staff should look at the CUNY website. They show all 20 sites and their hours of operations, and they should seek to find a site close to where they live or where they, maybe if they're working, find a site that's convenient, and they could certainly get tested there.
Okay. What about the Associate Pass? Is New York Associate Pass not being recognized? New York State Associate Pass doesn't count?
It counts, and that could be uploaded as part of the submission to HR, but in terms of coming in through the gates, our campus peace officers will be looking at the Everbridge vaccination pass. Again, this is a moving target. This is the guidance we received as of now. This is an evolving process. This may change, it may not change, but as of this moment, the Everbridge Vax Pass is the only Vax Pass that campus safety will accept.
Okay. A little confused with this question. I'm going to read it verbatim. Can one email with clear information about Everbridge, FaxPass, and Cleared 4? I think they're asking, can one email be sent out?
We're working on, Larry, we have Marcus, maybe Marcus, you should answer because I know you've been working with the team on this one.
Sure. So we've been monitored, looking at the chat, and this is a need, and so clarity on the process for the Vax Pass. But I think we're going to link it through vaccine verification, which comes first, then the Vax Pass, as well as information about Cleared 4. And we are still waiting to get what the Cleared 4 platform will look like. So as soon as we have that, we'll put something very clear and concrete together.
Okay. Yeah, and just thank you. One of our people here did send me a sample of the Cleared 4 screen, which she said it was okay to share, and I shared with Marcus. So thank you so much. And at least we have an indication of what it looks like. First, I've seen it, and that'll help us build our communication moving forward. We've learned about many of these things 1 or 2 days before, or sometimes less, 1 or 2 hours, sometimes before they were implemented. I'm sorry, we don't have more concrete information. We're doing this on the fly and getting it out to people as close as possible. This is a heavy lift for everyone. The university's been great, but it's a heavy lift. So please bear with us and be patient as we learn more about it, and we could share that with everybody.
Yeah. And the second part of the question is, what about people who don't have smartphones?
Okay, it's one of the things we're talking about. One of the things we've been thinking of doing is, once we get all the data through our IT office's data hub, sort of create a flow where someone's at the gate and they do not have a smartphone, or they don't have a printer to print their thing. Someone at the gate can call up a liaison who has access to this electronically, can quickly do a search and determine if the criteria has been met. We have been thinking about that. We're working on the logistics of doing so, but we do understand not everybody owns a smartphone, or their smartphone may not work when they get to the gate. Again, I urge everybody who does have a smartphone, before you leave your house, please make sure your smartphone works and you have the appropriate checkbox. Coming to the campus and finding out something didn't work, it'll be annoying. I know I do that. Before I leave my house, I make sure I have what I need. So I go by the gate and I show them my ID card. I show them my, now it's a symptom checker, and they get in. It's a work in process. Please be patient. We will work out all the kinks internally to make it as seamless as possible for everybody. We know there's enough stress. We do not want to add to the stress.
Okay. How can students access Cleared 4?
Access the
against the app for Cleared 4. They're asking how can students access it?
Okay, they should have, people should have been received a notification from Cleared 4. Marcus, did the students receive?
So that's exactly right. So the process has been, as you've been identified as not having been approved via the vaccination verification process, then that information is passed on to the vendor, and you should get a personalized link from Cleared 4 taking you to scheduling appointments, downloading the application, etc. So we expect that rollout will be exactly the same for students when they start working on that process as well. Students, remember, will have access to testing starting on 8/23.
Okay.
Also, please keep in mind, you cannot use the link of somebody else. It could be, as we learned, trial and error. Marcus didn't need his link. Someone else was able to use it and put their information, but when we tried for the second person, it did not work. I have a personal question into our contact of Applied DNA to identify how people could get their link if for whatever reason they did not get it on their smartphone or their regular or their email.
Well, this is a pretty practical question. What if the picture of the ID is no longer visible?
Don?
Well, first of all, we really urge everybody to download Navigator and use your digital ID. even if we have a photo or we don't have a photo anymore for you, you can email id@brooklyn.cuny.edu. They'll give you instructions on how to download your photo yourself. And within a few days, it'll upload onto your Navigator. As far as a hard copy ID, right now, we are really pushing the digital IDs. If you need a new ID card, once again, email id@brooklyn.cuny.edu.
I just want to plug here. All of this is routed in the inquiry form. So if you select, I have an issue with my ID, all of the information that Chief Wentz just mentioned pops up on the screen, and ID services also gets a backup email.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to refer the next question back to Donald. I'm bad with cardinal directions. Which gate or which parking lot gate is the west gate?
Oh, the west gate is the entrance to the parking lot located at Avenue H off of Ocean Avenue.
I go through it every day. So thank you for that. Next question. Actually, I think I'm going to combine the next two questions because they're also kind of similar. When will Everbridge be updated with my vaccine info? I don't see it yet, but I successfully uploaded my vaccine info to CUNY first. And the next one is, does Everbridge sync with the vaccination information we upload in CUNY first?
Yes, I'll answer it. And Deborah Quashie is here to help. If I don't get it correctly. So if you're an employee and you went into CUNY first and you completed your vaccination verification, put in all the information and attached an image of your full vaccination, HR is verifying that information on a daily basis. They were amazing. They reviewed over 900, vaccination verifications record time. Student affairs as well. They've done over 1,200 student verifications in just a few days. But within 24 hours, that vaccination information should, if it's approved, should translate into the VaxPass. In Everbridge, you should go to CUNY first. If you see HR approved on the vaccination verification, that means HR approved within 24 hours. It should be reflected in your Everbridge VaxPass. We're also seeing, and I put it in the chat, but there's a lot going on in the chat. If we're gonna start, maybe we could do some Zoom sessions for people, sort of walk-ins. People need some technical help. They want to speak to someone face-to-face or Zoom to Zoom, I guess, a new version of face-to-face. Someone could sit and provide tech support and walk individuals through the process. I definitely think there's a need for that, and we will help people. We want people to be comfortable, or you could email us, but we'll walk people through this. If you're HR approved, you should be good. If not, we'll help you. And if still a problem, we will reach out to tech support, at the university to troubleshoot on your behalf.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, I just want to mention something as well. I know a lot of people have been reaching out to me in regards to they're seeing the approval, but the Excelsior is still pending. Just to let you know, the system only allows us to do an approve. We cannot approve an Excelsior or the Vax card. Is one approval. That's it. Yeah. If the Excelsior card is pending, I'm not sure how CUNY is working through or the vendor is working through to get that out to indicate approved.
Right, but the HR approved will lead to the Everbridge, VaxPass approval. The Excelsior part, as Deborah said, it's pending. At some point, the university is going to link to the state. And when they link to the state directly, the approvals will be going through the state. We'll probably be done with everything by then, but that's what that's there for. Don't worry about Excelsior pending. Worry about HR approved, or for students, I guess for the LVA, which is I forget what it's called. If Ron Jackson's here, he could define the acronym. But that on the student side, it would show that it was approved by Student Affairs. So use CUNY first as a guide to check on the status, and then that will translate over to the VaxPass. Okay.
We get tons of questions in the library. Is the best place to direct students for information to the Returning Safely Together webpage?
Absolutely. It's for students, faculty, staff, it's for everyone. We want everything in one place. It will help us organize and coordinate appropriately. So please, this is open to students. Yeah, I know there are some people here who are also students. Students are welcome, but then students are encouraged to report any issues through that mechanism as well.
Okay. I uploaded my proof of vaccination to CUNY First and it showed approved, but there's nothing on my Everbridge app. What am I supposed to do?
So it seems like this is a common challenge that people mentioned in the chat, and I had the same thing. I was waiting to be informed when I submitted my vaccination card. Turns out you've got to go to Everbridge, and for some people, they need to delete Everbridge and download an updated version. That's fine. That's just another step. But you need to go to Everbridge and request the Vax Pass. That happens very quickly. Once you request the Vax Pass, you get something in your feed on Everbridge, and you also get an email in your regular email, Brooklyn College email. So we're going to document that. Marcus is working on that documentation. We'll circulate it around. And if we need to do a Zoom for everybody who wants to know how to get a Vax Pass, we'll do that as well. Just note, just submitting your vaccination stuff is not enough, which I didn't know. So there's no reason you should know that. You submit your vaccination stuff, HR approves it, but then you have to go to Everbridge and request the Vax Pass. Okay? We'll get this information out to you with some documentation.
Okay, thank you. What's the plan for entry to the parking lot? Are we anticipating problems for cars lined up waiting to get in, given the slower entry process?
I would have to assume, depending on how many people are driving to campus, that we probably would have a wait at the parking lot, just like we're going to have at the normal entry gates, at least in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. That being said, it's a minimal return. So there shouldn't be more than 15 to 20% of people there at any point in time. And we'll be balancing all that. But it's not going to be like it was when we left campus in terms of volume. But please be patient as the peace officers get used to, again, learning a new system on the fly after learning a new system a few months ago when we did see entry. But there could be a wait.
Okay. I uploaded my fax card to CUNY First. That's not enough for entry. I have my fax card. Is that not enough?
Can you repeat that, Larry?
Sure. I uploaded my fax card to CUNY First. I guess their vaccination card. That's not enough for entry.
No, it should be. That's
Okay.
enough, but it has to go through the process. HR needs to approve it, and then it needs to convert to the Everbridge Fax Pass. That is enough.
But Alan, it doesn't convert automatically.
Right.
I think people are submitting, they're getting HR approved, but then they're like, where's my Vax Pass?
Okay.
You have to go into Everbridge and request the Vax Pass, and very promptly it'll send it to you.
Yeah, and we'll document the step by step. And Marcus, Richard Klein's working closely with Marcus and the team. We will get that to people. Some people it works easily. Other people, based on their Everbridge status, it doesn't work. Some of you never heard of Everbridge because you've not been on campus and you didn't need it, and we have to give you instructions on how to download Everbridge. And again, as president, it happened to me when the first day I returned to campus. I called up the help desk. Also, we have a help desk. Please contact our IT help desk if you have any questions. I contacted them and said, Danny, please help me. It was either Danny or Andre. I'm sorry, it's a few weeks ago. Please help me. I can't get into Everbridge. And within 5 minutes, they explained, Alan just deleted and reloaded again. Worked with no problem.
Okay. Actually, the next two questions actually pertain to how do you get your Fax Pass? And not all of us know where to find the Fax Pass on Everbridge, or has it been properly loaded? Please explain how to find it.
Same thing again. And we'll schedule some Zooms. My people are going to kill me. Maybe we could schedule some Zooms over the weekend. If we see I'm available, I could help people. Let's think about it and let us know. I know we're coming back Monday, and there's some concerns here.
Okay. For walk-in testing, how will we gain our results?
The cleared force sends them to people within 24 hours. The person who sent me the sample pretty much articulated that when she got the results back. At this point they seem to be on track, and we don't manage the vendor. If there are any issues, please report them to us so we can report it to the university. I can speak from example. I'm getting emails back from our contact at 2 a.m. in the morning. So they've been responsive. They've not been responsive during the day. They're very responsive in the evening. They seem to be working through the late hours.
Okay. The next one, I guess they want clarity. Are you saying there won't be social distancing in the classrooms?
Carrie, do you want to take that?
I'm saying that in labs and studios, the enrollment cap for the spaces and the sections that I've seen generally results in social distancing without us requiring it. For the classrooms where there is fixed seating, we have suggested 50% capacity. So in large lecture halls and in auditoriums, maximum of 50%, although it's not required. There's no mandate for this. It's still a good idea. For smaller classrooms, most of those spaces can be set up so that there is some distancing, may not be at 6 feet. Certainly the instructor, faculty will have space at the front of the classroom that will enable distancing.
Yeah, the registrar's office is also using the largest space possible, so they will be using all the large lecture halls. We're not doing large lectures on campus this semester. They will be using the large lecture halls and scheduling those as appropriate. So a class of 40 could be in a room that would fit 160. So they are using that. That being said, if guidance changes, we will change guidance appropriately. And just a shout out to Vanessa Ulo and Natalie Coombs. They've gone through so many iterations of this with Endura Dashnili, facilities planning, and Carrie. They've gone through so many iterations with us. It sounds like it may happen again. They're on top of it. You know, the team's on top of it. We will change as many times we have to change to make sure safety and following guidance is the top priority. But we're spacing everything out as best we can, no matter what the requirements are. Our strategy has been from the beginning, as much space as possible, whether it's an office or a classroom.
Okay. The next question is the app, I guess they're asking, is the app called Everbridge Contact Tracer, or am I just downloading one that's called Everbridge?
So
I think it's Everbridge, but Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, it's called Everbridge, and within the Everbridge app, there'll be two badges. We had a symptom checker, and we're transitioning to the VaxPass. So it's still the same application.
Okay. I requested a vaccination pass in Everbridge. How long would it take to load? I pressed the shield and requested a fax pass and got no more information.
Again, this is along the lines that the president just outlined. We just need to make sure and go through all of the steps. If someone doesn't have the approved status from when they uploaded their vaccination information from to our HR team, then they wouldn't get the VaxPass. So we need to line that out. Look here, then you should be able to get your VaxPass. Okay, so we'll get that out as soon as possible.
Actually, that's the last question I had that was presented.
Wow.
I think there was also a question I saw from Tim on the chat of whether or not we're going to hold a session like this for students. Yes, and I hope we have, of course.
Absolutely.
We're going to have a little bit, we're going to have maybe 2 more weeks of information to share. And of course, any of you who want to come to that session, you're welcome to do so.
We may need to have a Facebook link to that as well.
Yeah.
We're only allowed to have 1,000 people at any one point in time. I thought we may achieve it today. I want to have one with 1,000 people. We're going to work with VP Jackson and student government on that. There'll be at least one, if not more. Of course, that's again as close as possible to when they return. So we have the information at that point in time. As we saw today, we started this and something changed, and we haven't even read. So this is ever changing and fluid, and we will be ever changing and fluid with it.
Yep.
Can I just state my colleagues in HRS are saying that it looks like employees need to wait overnight after they get the approval before it starts showing up in Everbridge. But again, we'll definitely put all of that out into the field. It's information that clearly it was indicated that it's needed.
So Larry, you've done a fantastic job moderating this. We really appreciate it. And we know there are going to continue to be questions and comments. That's why we've set up and are in the process of setting up, I think Marcus talked about it at the top of the session, where we're going to share with you a way to report problems. We hope when you come back, everything's perfect. but nothing's ever perfect,
Yeah.
right? And so we're going to provide a mechanism by which you can report concerns that you have. And if there are any immediate issues, things that need immediate attention, please talk to your supervisor or the vice president that your supervisor reports to. We expect there to be some lack of information out there because some of the questions today were answered in my messages or in Alan's messages. Please, folks, read your email and share what you learned today with your colleagues. If they have questions about these core issues, if you could share with them the information, we heard loud and clear that what we need to do is have documented processes for both cleared for, if you get tested, and the Vax Pass, how to get the Vax Pass. So we are on it. We're going to get those out to you. And if we need additional support to help people get those Vax Passes or those cleared for passes, we will let you know. I don't think we have anything else.
I just want to add, please
Yeah.
check out the Returning Safely Together
Yeah.
website. We constantly update information there. Great partners with the Office of Communication and Marketing. In fact, we're meeting later this afternoon to go over next steps. Read the letters that the president sends out weekly or biweekly, depending on what's coming up. I think we were up to number 15. They're invaluable, and we, when our click rates are not high enough on those, please, that's the best source because that's real-time information. Please check the weekly BC brief, which always leads with something on returning to campus, and let us know how we communicate better. Yeah, I'd love to do one of these every day, but I know that's not feasible. Things change every day. We probably could, but let us know how we can communicate with you better. This is overwhelming. So I saw it's overwhelming, constantly changing. We're in this together, and we really care. We're sincere, and we want to allay all your fears. We want to keep everybody safe, and mostly we want to come back to a time when we're back to where we were February or January 2020, when the COVID was something was not in, it was far, far away. We all want to do that. We want to be back together. We want to celebrate each other and our beautiful, amazing campus. And once again, thank you, Michelle. Your never-ending support is
jeepers.
so much.
Everybody is working so hard, not least you, Alan. I get emails from you at all hours of the day and night. All of the team members here, folks, all of the team members here who are serving the campus, we're all here to support you. We're all here. We're all on the same side. And that is, let's get back in a way that's sane. Let's do it safely. Let's come back with patience and goodwill. We all care for each other, and we want to make sure that the community can come together and experience the modest amount of joy that we can experience in seeing one another again, which I think is going to help lighten our experiences over the next 2 weeks, because there's going to be a lot that we don't know. There's going to be a lot of missteps. We've got to anticipate that. There's going to be delays, but there's also going to be the support of everyone around you. And I really appreciate everyone's hard work. Really appreciate there are 259 people on this Zoom who've stuck around for, I don't know, more than 2 hours.
More than 2 hours.
More than 2 hours. And there will be additional questions and comments. We're going to try to get additional information to you as rapidly as we can, particularly about the Vax Pass and the cleared for information. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everyone who's here and who's answered questions and shown up. Thank you all.
All right, guys. Take care. Be well.
Bye. Have a great weekend, everybody. Keep your eye out for emails.
Emails are coming.
Yeah.
More info.